Like, Europeans look to America and say, oh, these guys are so stupid. They don't even have health care. What are they doing? It's so barbaric, yeah. And not realize that, like, we got here because domestically we did the thing that we're making you do now. Okay? Now we're making you do it. And you're a whole ass different country. You know what I mean? Like, you're a sovereign nation, dude. It's so fucked up. Stop the bullying. Time out the hate. Okay, time out the hate. You know, stop the hate. That's not what I'm not hating on everybody. I'm just saying, like, before this gets out of hand, you gotta fucking, I don't know, you gotta wake up. You gotta wake your neighbors up. Because if they don't, they're going to keep on hating on fucking immigrants and shit, not realizing where it's coming from, not realizing where the austerity is coming from, not realizing why their living standards have gotten significantly and noticeably.
They were reported yesterday, the day before, and even today. The country is doing really well. I think that one of the things you'd be most interested in is that 6 months ago, we were having a hard time getting anybody to join our military. I mean, they just couldn't do it. The numbers were record low. We couldn't get people to join the military. It wasn't me. This was before I got there, the past administration. But 6 months ago, a year ago, the numbers were record low. You couldn't get them to join. That included the police. And you couldn't get them to join. Now, we just hit the highest number in the history of our country, we think, but very close, but the highest in the history of our country, recruitment, joining the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, police forces all over the country.
What did you do for that? What was the reason?
Spirit. They love our country again. They do the same thing. Spirit.
Merce is like, what did you do? I would like to do the same, yeah. We need the armed forces now. Now that we are militarizing at an alarming rate, yeah, we need the armed forces as well. How did you do it? Well, you know, behind closed doors, maybe he'll tell you the truth. I don't even fucking know if Trump knows that this is the truth. But any intelligent person knows exactly why it happens. As material conditions worsen, the poverty draft as an opportunity to get all of the amenities that Germany offers unconditionally to all of its fucking citizens. The only way to access said amenities is if you know, join the goddamn military. That's it. Yeah. Do more austerity, which is going to happen anyway, so you can fucking pay for the weapons that we're forcing you to buy. And then in the process of that austerity, so like all of the social safety nets that people took for granted go away. And then because it's something you have to pay for, do military service. Do military service.
We have great spirit is back in our country, and it's very simple. And, you know, it was only, Susie, 6 months ago, right, that you got reports. You're the one that released them, that you couldn't get anybody to join the military, and now we're stocked. Every service now is packed, and we have waiting lists of people trying to get in, as good as we've ever had in the history of our country. So that's an honor. That's a great honor.
Mr. President, on the war. On California.
You've asked. You've had enough.
Oh shit, they're re-Stalinizing? What a new Stalin statue says about Russia's attempt to reshape history. Oh my god. Yo, they're gonna make me fucking say some things right now.
In Russia, not only do people not know what the future will hold, they don't know what the past will hold. The past here is constantly changing.
They're honoring Mao Zedong, actually. They're not even honoring Stalin. They're honoring Mao because this was an egregious mistake by the period of de-Stalinization was treated as an unfathomable mistake, an unforced error by the USSR at the time, which was met with a lot of criticism from communist China. So now maybe they're doing this to honor Mao. Not necessarily to re-Stalinize, but to basically reaffirm their commitment and go back to a period where there is no Sino-Soviet split.
So I'm going down into the Moscow metro because somewhere here, deep underground, a ghost of Russia's past has reappeared. And there he is, Joseph Stalin, a brand new statue of the Soviet dictator. Now, there was a time after his death when all the Stalins...
Yeah, they were fake. They were fake. They were phony. Like... Transitioning from the Sino-Soviet split to the Sino-Soviet commit. Yeah, Comintern coming back. International cooperation amongst communist countries.
Statues in Russia were removed, were knocked down, when Stalin's cult of personality and his crimes against the people were officially condemned. The Great Terror, the millions sent to the Gulag, the hundreds of thousands of people executed. But Stalin monuments have been popping up again all over Russia. Today the authorities are focusing on Stalin, the strongman, Stalin, the victorious wartime leader. Stalin is being rehabilitated. What do young people today think about Stalin?
Well, I think that Joseph Stalin is unfairly hated. He did a lot to our nation that we still use.
There was, of course, the Stalin terror, and many people...
Bro, that's so funny. Going up to random people in Moscow, like random teenagers in Moscow, and debating them about Stalin is so funny. Look, the answer is simple, okay? The answer is very simple. No Stalin statues means no Churchill statues. Okay? That's it. Like what are we talking about here, you know? Their contributions are their most impactful contributions to the world are damn near identical, okay? And some of their devastation and some of their devastating impact, one might say some is worse. One might say Churchill is worse on certain avenues. One might say Stalin is worse on others. But ultimately, you know, there's the good and the bad. But if you have an issue with fucking Stalin statues, then you got to have an issue with Churchill statues too. You do know that Russia doesn't have any Churchill statues? No, man. I'm talking about, like, it would be akin to going to fucking a Russian national going to the UK and being like, why do you have a Churchill statue? Do you not know Bengal famine? Ah, suka blyat. That would be dumb as fuck, okay? That's my point. I'm not saying that there's Churchill statues in the fucking... On the other hand, though, I do think that there are statues that people erect of people who have zero good output and only negative contributions to society. Confederate monuments would be a great example. Famous slavers would be another great example. And of course, the Western world is literally fucking filled to the brim with those statues. And I feel like that's more of a close resemblance to like an Adolf Hitler statue than anything else. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's why I didn't say Jefferson and Washington. Listen, I'm not saying that, like, Washington has, despite being a slaver, Washington has decent fucking contributions, okay? Like, I place Confederate monuments or famous slavers as far as famous slavers, like people that participated in the slave trade in the UK is what I was thinking of. Okay? Or like people like Christopher Columbus, like shit like that. Like there's no, like their entire output is negative. It's just fine. I find it funny is all I'm saying. I don't really give a shit if they fucking erect monuments back for Stalin. Also, the most negative thing I feel about this is any sort of association with Stalin and current modern day, any sort of association with the USSR and modern day Russia is, I think, completely inappropriate. If anything, you can make a better comparison between modern day Russia and the Russian Empire. And I think the reason why Putin wants to erect Stalin statues is not necessarily because he agrees with them ideologically. He certainly does not. But the reason why he's doing that is because the USSR was a glorious moment for Russians. Like they were a well-established superpower. So it's basically a more appropriate, more appealing way of trying to relive the glory days. You know what I mean? Or maybe even like trying to say that like Stalin killed Nazis and we're killing Nazis in Ukraine, some type of shit like that. When in fact, his irredentist actions, I guess maybe Stalin wouldn't be necessarily against some of those actions, but, you know, Stalin's most valuable contributions to global history are his efforts to defeat and his successful efforts in defeating Nazi Germany. It is not a comparison to what Russia is doing in Ukraine at all.
All suffered in the gulags.
About this point of view, we cannot blame only Stalin because it was a system.
Как я могу относиться, если я в России живу? Сталин — это наша история. Поэтому...
Ну, спорный человек, да, типа.
Didn't Putin work as a KGB agent? I would assume he liked the Soviet Union. Interesting question. I would say that era of KGB agents, well, you know, that era of KGB agents are very famously not exactly fond of the USSR and were simply using the opportunities that they had within the internal structure to basically sell off the country and gain as much power in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR.
Миллионы жертв там ГУЛАГа.
Ну, бывает такое, что мы же все как бы не без греха. Поэтому в те времена, видимо, это было необходимо так поступать. Поэтому было принято такое решение. Это его выбор. Мы подчиняемся.
There's a story about Putin during de-Stalinization time. As a little boy, he would take Stalin pictures in a garbage container and hang them in his room. That sounds so stupid.
Безусловно, он был тиран, тем не менее, как лидер он проявил себя. Но, опять же, да, в каждом человеке есть что-то хорошее и плохое. И вспоминая репрессии, вспоминая вот этот тяжелый период 30-е годы, в личности Сталина, конечно, это печальная часть истории нашей страны.
But it's not just Joseph Stalin who's making a comeback. So, would you believe, is the USSR. I'll explain how a little bit.
Oh, these guys suck so bad. Yeah, totally. I fucking wish, dude. I wish. What the fuck do you mean the USSR is making a comeback?
Later. But I mean, the Soviet Union, it's long gone, right? It fell apart more than 30 years ago. There's even a museum dedicated to it here in the center of Moscow. I've just been to take a look.
Наклониться, выпрямиться, выдохнуть, Вдохнуть, выдох, вдох. Продолжайте.
It's a real Aladdin's cave, or perhaps I should say Lenin's cave, full of the sights and the sounds and even the smells of a country that has passed into history. And yet, just a few days ago, one of President Putin's advisors suggested that legally the USSR still exists, because when it was being dissolved, allegedly there were procedural violations. And he said that to try to make out that Russia's war in Ukraine is an internal matter for Moscow. And then,
Ugh. Bro, how is this anything but handing it to Putin? Like, you don't have to abide by his framing. You don't when he says he's denazifying Ukraine. But of course, because these guys are so fucking reactionary, where they have to literally be like, oh no, it's the USSR you should be afraid of. Red Scare. Red Scare. Let's bring it back, right? Very, very nice. That is right. I hope people make content like this in the future when the American empire collapses. Maybe.
a former Russian Prime Minister came out and backed him up. Just over there by Red Square, there are some ultra-nationalists who agree and who want the Soviet Union back.
Это все незаконно, соответственно, все это отменяться должно. И мы сейчас хотим вернуть границы 45-го года, чтобы остановить эти войны.
Если завтра появится или скажут, что СССР вернулся.
The countries that are not servile to American interests get dominated and punished with ruthless force. And I guess my question is like, does that not like make people feel a different type of way about America at all? Am I crazy?
Because of the election and because of tariffs and other things, a lot of things. But we've had some of the best.
Yeah, it sucks. Move on. Felt bad as a Norwegian Thor meeting didn't go over too bad. Fragile ass liberal chatter season he is asking, isn't it fucked up? Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying it's fucked up. I guess I'm trying to figure out if like people will understand it, or are people close to understanding it, at least from your neighbors and from the people that you talk to. Like, do they see it at all, or are they like, that's my question. Do they see it at all, or are they completely and utterly oblivious and think like, no, you don't understand. Like, you just got to pay the piper a little bit. You just got to entertain him a little bit. But ultimately, we are sovereign. Because when America says you have to spend 4% to 5% of your GDP on weapons, and every single one of these countries has to jump after America said jump, remember, like, that's coming out of your pockets, okay? That's your output. That's your taxable revenue. That is, instead of going back to, like, social safety nets, that's going to American weapons. You know? Isn't that fucked up?